Yes. What's happening, everyone? I'm back. This time, I'm going to take you through how I produced my remix of Darkai and Ear's track Gems, which has just come out actually on Artikal Music. That's J Kenzo. So I have been through before how I approach my remixes. You can go back and watch the video on how I produced my remix of Curtain and Warrior Queen's track. And I explained how when I do start a remix, I get all the stems and I load them in and I kind of have them further down in the project. So they're not actually in, where I'm writing. They're kind of kept all in place in a different area. So I can have them always in place where they should be in time, and I can just make selections. Hang on, for example, like that, and take it over here, do what I want with it. And when I do that, I copy and paste. I copy it so that these stems are always left exactly as they are. And another good reason I do that is because when I find something I like, I can just take it from here, drop it in, and I'm not really affecting the original stems here, because sometimes if you just keep chopping bits out, you come back to the stem and there's bits missing, you can't remember where they came from. So yeah, anyway, I've been through this before, but I thought I'd just let you know about that. I've kind of butchered these a little bit, so yeah, I'm not going to be able to show you the original, but if you want to find the original, go online, take a look at that. Darkai and Ear's Gems. So yeah, let's have a little listen to what I've done.
I said, and I'm never gonna backtrack. Said what I think. Holy for gems, like a bad jewel thief, man, drop them. Holy for gems, like a bad jewel thief, man, drop them. Holy for gems, like a bad jewel thief, man, drop them. Holy for phlegm, bad boy MC, I'm not them. Mum will get smoked like silk cut phlegm. Better than me one. When?
Right, you get the idea. So when I take on remixes, there's a few things I look for to know if I can actually do them. I don't like just taking them on, just for the sake of doing a remix. There's two reasons I wanted to do this. I'd like to do original, for one, which helps. Sometimes I don't, particularly when I do remixes, but I hear parts of the track I do like, if that makes sense, and I think to myself of how I would use those elements to, make a remix, obviously. So in this, I liked, the thing that stuck out to me was this melody here. So yeah, that stuck out to me. I thought, well, that's pretty cool. I reckon I can do something with that. And also, I love working with vocals. So the original is a vocal track. And I normally try and use the full vocal. But in this, I've kind of done more of a dancey approach. Very much influenced by the early kind of bingo beats tracks, or and stuff by Oris J, Wookie, people like that. Back at the time when dubstep wasn't really defined as dubstep, it was just kind of like this mishmash of garage and breaks and grime, and it wasn't even called grime back then. So that's kind of the angle I came from. I did start a version of this that was kind of like half-time typical dubstep, and I just thought, you know what, I just want to come with this in a completely different direction. So that's how I ended up here. So the way I try and start my tracks, first of all, when it's remix, I find the key of the track. So then when I'm writing my bass lines and other musical elements It's all in key and it all sounds lovely, and it works with the vocal. So the intro's pretty basic. The whole track is pretty basic. There's not a lot here. There's only about, I don't know, maybe 20 tracks, if that. And these two tracks aren't doing anything. We'll have a little listen to the intro.
And I'm never gonna backtrack, said what I think. Holy for gems, like a bad jewel thief, man, drop them. Holy for gems, like a bad jewel thief, man, drop them. Holy for gems, like a bad jewel thief, man, drop them.
So it's quite basic. Basically, it's mainly the break doing all the work. Some automation going on. Some edits where I've chopped it up and inserted some alternative breaks, you know, after 8 bars or so, just to kind of give it some variation. So I do like using automation quite a lot and stuff like this. There's also this lovely horn line. Very nice. Kind of reminds me of some of the, you know, old drum and bass, or kind of like Massive Attack. Something else which really, I think, lifts it are kind of like these bells. Not really like a big part of it, but they just kind of add something for your ears. And there's this melody from the original going. That's about it. And with the vocal, in particular here, I kind of have arranged it in a way that it all kind of drops out, and then you get one last word, and then it drops. I'll show you.
Holy for phlegm, bad boy MC, I'm not them. Some will get smoked like silk cut phlegm. When?
And in this instance, it drops nice without the vocal. Like I said, normally when I do remixes, I like to involve the whole vocal, but it just felt right this way for me to just chop out kind of like key phrases, key little parts of the vocal. I don't know if I've done that much processing on the vocal.
Holy for gems, like a bad jewel thief, man.
So just a tiny bit of compression.
Holy for gems.
Something to tame the sibilance.
Holy for gems.
Let's see what it's like without that, shall we?
Holy for gems.
Yeah, so it is getting rid of some of the harshness from the S's. I put this on stuff just because I love it. Just gives stuff a really lovely sound. I use this plugin to give stuff fatness. It's kind of like an exciter, but you can pick the frequencies in which it excites stuff. So
Holy for gems, like a bad jewel thief, man, drop them. If we're talking,
there we are. Let's listen to that's without it.
holy for gems, like a bad jewel thief, man, drop them.
With it.
Holy for gems, like a bad jewel thief, man, drop them.
So it's really subtle, but it's just to try. I really, because there's a lot of warmth, obviously, in the lower frequencies of people's voices, but it's hard to get the balance of it being warm or being boxy. And sometimes when I can't get it with an EQ, you know, I think it sounds too boxy and like artificial. I use something like this to excite lower frequencies, and that's what that's doing. Recirculate is a cool plugin by Newfangled Audio. It's kind of like a delay / pitch bender and chorus and reverb. Does all kinds of things, but it's really, really cool.
Holy for gems, like a bad jewel thief, man, drop them.
Yeah, it's all like the little delays that kind of tail off. that's what that does. So anyway, so obviously once you've got your drums, you've got to have the bass, haven't you? It's all about the bass, and all the basses that I made. Hang on. Were made from Vital. This bad boy. There you go. Even saved my own preset as Gems bass. So that's what I used to make all of these bass sounds. There's variations, and what I do is I bounce them as audio, and I cut them up. So like this. Ooh, like that one a lot. So there's not a lot of processing. There's no processing going on. Just EQ. That's it. And I've just done a similar. There's this one kind of similar treatment, which is just taking out some of the kind of boxiness. But when you are bouncing variations of the same bass, so like, you know, some of them have got a faster LFO, some are slightly lower pitched or a different type of distortion. I find you need to work a lot with the EQs to try and sculpt them so they sound like they belong in the same world. Sometimes you can make bass variations and it sounds like they just stick out too much, whereas these don't necessarily. They don't stick out. They sound like they're from the same. Imagine it's an instrument. It sounds like it's from the same instrument, but it's being played differently. So
when Holy gems.
you get the idea. Yeah, so that's the drop. Again, there's not a lot going on. It's just the bass and the drums. I don't really have a lot of drums going on. I have my break, and I've added a kick just to give it a bit more punch. Just sounds a bit thin without that kick. So with my kick, boosted the top end a little bit, taken out. Again, I can't tell you why I've made these changes. A lot of other people's videos, they tend to go, oh yeah, you know, I took this out because it sounded boxy and boomy and I gave it more top end. I don't work like that. I have stuff all playing together and I tweak EQs with everything playing till I'm happy, because I've said it in so many other videos, there's no point in individually treating these things and then you unmute it and then you have no idea what you've done. You don't know if you've improved it or not. So I do a lot of my tweaks with EQs and volume whilst the track's playing everything. I don't solo them and treat them. The only time I solo them and treat a sound is if I can hear a problem. If that makes sense, which it does. Oh, and there's a few little percussion bits here in blue, which are from the original. But that is it for drums. So it's just drums, bass, a kind of standard riser. Which on its own is kind of like a wow, it's a riser. But it does what it needs to do. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of telling you, come on, don't walk out the dance, don't stop listening to the tune, things are about to kick off. There you go. I've got some old like classic garagey samples like this one. It's from some UKG pack. Oh, wrong one. Here we go. There you go. Just to add some little flavour. Bit of excitement. Another little sound. Again, these aren't amazingly clever sound design things, and these are from a sample pack, so shoot me, guys. I'm using stuff from sample packs, and I think this might have been free, or it's from this band I've heard of, Cymatics. They do really cool stuff, and they do loads of free stuff. You could just download a load of their free packs, and they're great, and you'll find them very usable. So it drops just a swoosh, which I kind of use when doing trailer stuff. So, but all these things like these kind of risers and swooshes and crashes are what help your tune move on. Lots of people find it hard to finish tunes and get their tunes moving, literally just by doing this at the end of like 16 bars and repeating what you've done previously. People don't know the difference. It's just you're just creating a bit of excitement, and then bang, yeah, we're into something. It doesn't always need to be something new. But I call it the swoosh, splash, crash, something like that. Swoosh, splash, crash. Yeah. Anyway, like this. There you go. Sounds exciting on its own, doesn't it? With everything. But I do tend to change things. I don't tend to just loop stuff. So we just go into a different bass line. Well, it's the same bass kind of sound, but it's just lower, like a lower pitch, a bit more growly. Oh, and I've added this. It's just giving it some really lovely energy. Almost inaudible, but it's there. Do you know what I mean? It's giving it some energy. When it comes to the coast, I'm in top 10. Bad boy MC, I'm not them. There you go. Into a little switch up. Did another riser there. Another little riser. Look. There we go. Swoosh, splash, crash. Apologies if you can hear my daughter screaming. She's having a laugh downstairs with her brother playing about. So yeah, this ARP is from Serum. Lovely stuff. And then this bass is made on our good old classic dubstep synth friend Albino, the classic. If you don't know this, then you're a lot younger than I probably am. But this is dubstep was born on Albino, just so you know. Top 10. Bad boy MC, I'm not them. Still such a great synth. Still use it a lot. So this is kind of like leading us into a little break. Oh yeah, you need your high string, kind of like adding a bit of tension, a bit of suspense, like what's going to happen. Oh. Oh, and I have these little kind of, I call them like siren stabs. I don't know what you call them. So if you remember that melody that I played at the beginning that I said I took from the original, so these are just kind of like single notes taken for that, because it was like do 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 do. So I just took out do 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 do. That's Serum. Again, you know, it's not like right in your face, but it's carrying the tune on, making you, giving you some little ear sprinkles. With the vocal, they're just vocal chops.
Talking bars, and you know I got them.
Pitched it down.
Bad boy MC, only per gems.
So there you go. And with the breakdown that's coming.
If we're talking bars, then you know I got them.
Just adding a bit of like tension and suspense, drama to the breakdown with this. Some nice live strings from Museo. If you don't know about Museo, yeah, you need to go and find out about that, especially if you're into like composing and, you know, trailer stuff, or I don't know, whatever stuff you might need this for. And one thing that I missed out, actually, percussion. I've got these bells. They bells, you know, they're kind of like it's like a cowbell, isn't it? But it's the same thing. It's just ear candy to help the track move on.
Bad boy MC, I'm not them. If we're talking bars, then you know I got them.
Not massive, you know, like they're not in your face, not super loud, just well balanced, carrying the track on. So that was our breakdown.
Bad boy MC, I'm not them.
Then we've got these lovely horns. Just kind of remind me a bit like, you know, dramatic. But it's kind of like reminds me of, you know, some of the old jungle drum and bass, Massive Attack. Just adds a flavour with some nice live sounding elements.
Bad boy MC, I'm not them.
Oh, and I've got another bass happening. What's this guy? So this is a kind of another variation on Vital. Also, if you like these kind of sounds, I do sell Vital preset packs over at my Bandcamp. So if you look up Distance or DJ Distance or Distance at Bandcamp, you'll know it's me. And I sell lots of lovely Vital preset packs, mainly dedicated to bass music. So check them out.
Bad boy MC, only for gems.
And we've not done anything crazy. Now we're back into this part. But now I've switched up the horns. We are doing a different melody. But it's just all adding stuff to the story, kind of taking us towards the end of the track. A bit more kind of a emotive feel. Just pitched up the bass. We've gone. That's it. Done. I forgot to play these. I think I made these edits just using Effectrix, if you remember that plugin, another classic. But it does the job.
Bad boy MC, I'm not them.
There you go. That's it. It's finished. We could just have a look at a tiny look at what I've been doing to this break. There is, I always say, there's not a lot of processing on there. There is quite a bit of processing on this one. Sometimes, probably like everyone, I just kind of throw things on until it sounds how I want it to sound. There's not always a lot of thought behind it other than I'm just trying to make it sound good. And I think that's where I'm different. I mean, ultimately, everyone who's trying to make just what they're doing sound good. But I think a lot of these tutorials and a lot of people that you watch, they're like, oh no, I'm doing it surgical cutting and that and boosting here. And then I've got to use my transient shaper and this and, like, I'm just chucking it on. I know that sounds crazy, but I literally am just chucking this stuff on, just trying to make what I'm doing sound good. I mean, I have been doing this a long time, so there are things I just kind of tend to go for, like you've got compression, obviously, to kind of tame stuff and fatten it up. You've got the transient shaper. Transient shapers are amazing. Like, it just makes it tighter. So listen to how loose and flabby it is. Especially because I'm kind of time stretching this break, you can hear some weird artifacts where it's been like time stretched to fit 140. But by using the transient shaper and turning down the sustain, it's cutting out that stuff. Oh, still love this PSP vintage warmer. Beautiful. Next up, this, just love it. It adds a sound. I know everyone bangs on about audio, analog. Oh, it adds a sound. It's lovely and amazing. I'm sorry, but there are plugins that are now very good at adding a sound. I have boosted it a little bit at 12K, but this does add something. Like, it just does. I tend to put this on my master just because it just does something. So yeah, that's another go-to. The newfangled Saturate, which is actually, I think is actually a clipper. It's just making it a tiny bit fatter, nothing amazing. And then good old-fashioned Waves L2. So basically, all of this is doing, all I'm trying to do is make it fat, make it pop through the mix, and keeping it under control so we haven't got any mad peaks happening in our master. I am also sending it to, I've got this, I always call it this, DRM which is like short for drum parallel. So I've got some drum parallel compression. Let's have a listen. Where is it? Oh, look, it's hardly doing anything at all. But I know why I did it, because when I was mixing the track or doing the final tweaks as I kind of mix as I'm going along, rather than turning it up, everything up, I just thought parallel compression on my drums normally solves that for me, rather than turning up everything. So, but there we go. But if you look across so this is everything in my mixer. Can you just see how many channels have nothing on them? I have no plugins in them at all. It is nearly all gain I keep wanting to say staging. So don't sleep on how important gain staging is. Plugins are never going to compensate for your ability to balance a track. They just solve problems. I've got no crazy effects sends. I'm sending it. There's one which is native Steinberg's own convulsion reverb, reverence. That's it. Not really got anything major being sent to it either. Sends maybe like the vocal and some drums. That's about it. So I keep things very simple when I'm mixing. I keep, if I'm doing basses and stuff like that, it's different if you're going to treat stuff to make it sound a certain way. But most of the times now, VST synths are so good now, I'm able to make sounds how I want them to sound in the synth, whereas before you'd have a synth that would kind of do it, and then you'd need a million plugins. But anyway, I hope this has been helpful. I may do a live stream where you can actually ask me questions about this and how you might have watched this video and think, oh, I'd love to know this, love to know that. So I might do a live stream. But go back and check my other videos. If you're interested in buying some of my music, please do that. If you're interested in buying some of my sample packs and preset packs, you can do that over at my Bandcamp too. Follow me on Instagram, subscribe and like, and tell your friends how awesome this video is. Till next time, peace.